Wallahu Akbar, astagfirullah!
Deep in another forest, a man known for exploring haunted places decided to spend the night in an old hut. The rain poured outside, and the wind made the wooden walls creak. He had set up a camera, hoping to capture evidence of the unseen. Hours passed with nothing but the sound of raindrops and distant thunder. Then, something shifted. A small object rolled across the floor on its own. The man froze, his eyes scanning the shadows. No one was there.
Siapa?
When he reviewed the footage, the air around him grew colder. The recording showed something impossibly a white shape hovering above the roof, motionless yet alive, before disappearing into the darkness. Fear crept up his spine as he realized the legends about that hut might not be legends after all. In a dense forest, another explorer decided to perform a ritual said to attract spirits. He lit incense sticks and began recording, hoping to capture something extraordinary. The night was still, and the faint scent of smoke filled the air. As he looked into the camera, something moved behind him. He turned slowly, and 3 floating in the air were pale feet, suspended as if unseen by gravity.
Pai bakul, makasih. Ada air jatuh dari atas cuy. Air apa ini dari atas cuy? Ceker kuntilanak cuy. Anjir.
He stumbled backward, the incense dropping from his hand. His breath caught in his throat as the figure behind him seemed to fade into the mist. When he looked again, the air was empty. But deep down, he knew he had seen something real, something that wasn't meant to be seen by human eyes.
Anjing apung goblok juri ya. Terbang cuy, terbang cuy. Terbang anjir. Terbang.
On another night, a lone investigator arrived at an abandoned site carrying only a flashlight and a block of shrimp paste. Locals said burning it could summon restless spirits. He didn't believe it, but curiosity outweighed his fear. As the smoke rose into the air, his camera flickered, then dimmed. He tapped it, thinking it was a malfunction. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw something.
Di sini ya teman-teman. Apa teman-teman? Kok hilang ya?
lagi lampunya, astagfirullah. Sebentar ku jadi lobet lagi. Astagfirullah.
Two faint lights, glowing in the darkness like eyes. He gasped and turned toward them, but the lights vanished. His heart raced as the smoke thickened. The flashlight went out again, and for a moment, he was surrounded by complete silence. Then, a sound of breath, close behind him. He turned, but there was nothing there. The shrimp paste fire burned low as he hurried away, realizing some myths might be better left untested.
Apa sih nggak nyala nih?
In a quiet village on the edge of a forest, a group of investigators decided to spend the night inside an abandoned house said to be haunted by an ancient spirit. They split up, each setting up cameras in different rooms. The hours passed slowly, the house creaking under the weight of silence. Then, as one of them rested, the camera caught something by the window, a faint face watching, unmoving, its eyes locked on them. The man stirred, sensing something wrong, and turned his head just as the face disappeared. When he played back the footage later, he saw it clearly, a human-like figure leaning close, staring as if studying them in their sleep. The realization made his hands tremble. They were never truly alone at night.
Tuh.
Cek ya. Oh, astagfirullahaladzim, betul Bang. Astagfirullahaladzim, betul Bang.
During a stormy night, a ghost hunter entered a forest known for stories of a flying spirit. Rain fell hard, drenching him as he moved deeper into the trees. He called out into the darkness, challenging whatever might be there. For a moment, there was nothing. Then, a figure appeared floating, moving without sound. Panic set in. He stumbled backward, his camera shaking as the light caught the form of something moving toward him.
Astagfirullahaladzim. Astagfirullahaladzim. Apa itu? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ya Allah. Ya Allah. Astagfirullah. Ya Allah. Ya Allah. Ya Allah. Ya Allah. Ya Astagfirullah. Astagfirullahaladzim. Astagfirullah.
The air grew cold, and his breathing quickened. He turned to run, only to realize another presence stood ahead. Surrounded by shadows, he whispered a prayer and fled, the sound of movement following him through the storm until his light vanished completely.
Hai.
Deep in the heart of the forest, a ghost hunter known for his fearless investigations ventured alone into an uncharted area. The trees loomed tall, and every step seemed to echo endlessly. Then, from somewhere ahead, came the faint sound of crying, a soft, broken sob that didn't belong to any living creature. He followed the sound until he reached a small wooden hut standing eerily still in the clearing.
Dulu aja. Ada yang nangis. Kita harus tenang, teman-teman. Kita harus tenang. Saya merasakan seperti ada eksistensi di sini, cuy. Cuy, Allahu Akbar. Oke. Wait. Astagfirullahaladzim!
Its mouth opening wider than it should. For a heartbeat, he saw a long tongue, glistening in the light of his camera. Inside, the air was cold, heavy with dread. Then came movement, a figure emerging slowly from the shadows, its features distorted and wrong.
Wah, apa itu, Wah? Astagfirullah! Allahu Akbar! Astagfirullah!
One night, an investigator explored a forest rumored to have once been a burial ground. The moonlight barely reached the ground beneath the thick canopy of trees. As he walked, a soft, sorrowful cry reached his ears. He turned his light toward the sound, revealing a faint, white figure standing still among the trees. Its presence felt cold, not hostile, but deeply mournful.
Pokoknya saya ngejar sosok, geng. Masuk ke dalam sini. Dan oke. Bener kan? Oke, nanti saya akan ceritain sambil jalan, tapi ini ada sesuatu yang...
He tried speaking to it, asking who it was, but his words were swallowed by the silence. Then, without warning, the figure vanished. The spot where it stood was empty, yet the feeling of being watched lingered. He whispered a prayer, unsure if it was for his safety or for whatever spirit was still wandering that place.
Alah, ini... Enggak, saya lihat kamu, lihat wajah kamu aja. Diam. Kamu diam, please. Mudah-mudahan kameranya nggak terlalu shaking. Diam, saya cuma mau lihat wajah kamu aja. Enggak, diam. Allahu Akbar.
Another night, a hunter known for streaming his paranormal searches went deep into a forest said to be home to a female spirit dressed in red. He walked cautiously, whispering into the camera as his light flickered. Then, from between the trees, he saw here a woman in red, standing motionless, her feet not touching the ground. He tried to speak, to reason with what he saw, but his words faltered.
Kunti tobrut, cuy. Allahu Akbar. Al-Azim. Kaf hayya ain sun kifayatun hamim ain sin kaf kifayatun.
Slowly, the figure began to rise, floating above the path. His breath caught in his throat as the air turned ice cold. He stumbled backward, his camera shaking violently, before the screen went dark. When it came back on, the woman was gone, and all that remained was the echo of his voice
Teman-teman.
calling her name.
Oke, dia nggak napak ya. Dia nggak. Anjing. Hiber coy. Hiber cuy. Lady in Red, teman-teman. Salah besar. Kamu kalau muncul di sini, saya hitung sampai 3, 2. Anjing.
Far away, in another country, two explorers ventured into an abandoned area known for strange sightings. The wind howled between the trees as their flashlights scanned the darkness. They spoke quietly in fear and disbelief, unsure of what they might find. Then, out of nowhere, a white figure appeared in the distance, its outline floating just above the ground. It had no clear face, only a pale glow that moved without
Ya bak
sound.
bana de. Gel gel.
Dur abi dur.
Dur Eyüzübillah. Dur Eyüzübillah.
Yok abi bir şey yok orada.
La ilahe illallah. Bak yan tarafta da var bak. Yan tarafta.
The camera captured it perfectly, a shape rising slowly, weightless, drifting toward them. One of them whispered that it wasn't human. They turned to run, their voices shaking, as the apparition faded into the night air, leaving behind only the sound of their racing footsteps. That night, a ghost hunter ventured deep into a rubber plantation that locals claimed was haunted by a woman in red. The rain fell heavily, soaking the ground and shrouding the trees in mist. With only a flashlight in hand, he moved through the narrow paths, the sound of raindrops mixing with the distant hum of insects. He whispered a prayer and pressed forward, determined to prove that the stories were nothing more than rumors. But soon, the forest grew unnaturally silent. The air felt dense, almost alive. Then, a faint sound echoed above him, soft at first, like rustling leaves, then louder, heavier, almost human. He raised his camera, trembling. For a brief second, he saw a pale figure between the trees, its form swaying like a shadow in the storm. His feet froze. Panic filled his chest, but his body refused to move. In that moment, all he could do was whisper for strength as the silence around him deepened.
La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah.
The final encounter came from a lone explorer returning to a site long feared by locals. He entered an overgrown ruin, the air heavy with damp soil and the scent of decay. Hours passed as he searched through the darkness. Then, he heard a faint sound of footsteps and the smell of something burning. His light flickered, revealing brief glimpses of walls covered in soot. The air grew hotter, the noise closer. He whispered a prayer, trying to calm his nerves. Suddenly, the sound stopped. He turned in every direction, but there was only silence. Then, faintly, a shadow crossed the beam of his flashlight, gone before he could focus. The fear became unbearable, and he fled the ruin, leaving behind only his recording as proof that some places are better left untouched.
Allahu Akbar yang tadi.
Kirain apa tadi?
Akbar. Loh. Loh, Akbar, hilang. Hah? Allah Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
After the terrifying encounter with the floating feet, the same explorer returned to the site, hoping to find closure. The night was damp, and the air smelled faintly metallic, like rust or something far less natural. As he tried to retrace his steps toward the exit, a sudden chill ran down his spine. The silence was heavy, broken only by his uneven breathing. Then, just ahead, something stood in the path, a pale, unmoving, blocking his way. His flashlight trembled as he lifted it toward the figure. For a split second, he saw what looked like a face staring back, expressionless and hollow. The light flickered, and when it steadied, the figure was gone. He whispered an apology into the dark, his voice shaking, before running toward the faint outline of the road, leaving behind whatever watched him from the shadows. Another hunter entered the same cursed forest not long after. The night was still, unnaturally quiet, when he heard the unmistakable sound of someone crying. He called out, but no one answered. As he moved closer, the sobs grew louder, until he saw a figure dressed in white standing beneath a tree. The air turned cold as he realized she wasn't moving. Her head tilted slowly, her hair falling across her face. He blinked, and she was gone. Panic overtook him, and he ran, but as he turned a corner, she was there again, closer this time, her form shimmering in the darkness. He turned off his light, his breath trembling in the silence. When he finally dared to look back, the forest was empty once more, but the echo of her weeping followed him all the way out. In the final footage of the series, the same explorer returned once again to the haunted forest, accompanied by a friend. The night was quiet except for the faint buzz of insects and the whisper of wind through the trees. The moment they stepped inside, the air grew heavy, carrying a strange, metallic scent. Their cameras blurred as if the air itself didn't want to be recorded. Then, from the shadows ahead, something moved. The first man froze, his voice shaking as he called out to his friend. Before they could react, a figure appeared in front of them floating.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye bye.